With the NBA for sure being back and the playoffs being right around the corner, I thought now was a good time to talk about some potential playoff series in the Western Conference. Please like the video because it means a lot, subscribe so we can hit 300 subscribers, and comment to start a conversation with me, and play that intro.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
The first series we will talk about is the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Houston Rockets. This would obviously be an interesting series, with it being Russ versus the franchise he spent most of his career with, the Oklahoma City Thunder. It will also feature Chris Paul's return to Houston, where he played 2 seasons and made his first conference finals appearance. This series would be very close, with them both having identical records. In their 3 games this season, OKC has won 2 out of the 3 games, and 2 out of the 3 games were close. In the first matchup, Houston won 116-112, with Harden leading the way with 40 points. In the second game, OKC blew out Houston 113-92, with Danilo Gallinari leading the way with 22 points and Russell Westbrook dropping 34 points in his return to OKC. In their third game, OKC won 112-107, with Chris Paul leading the way with 28 points. This series would clearly be close and be important to Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, and James Harden's career. For this series to happen, Houston would have to get the 4th or 5th seed, and Oklahoma would also have to get the 4 or 5 seed so they could first in the first round. Or if OKC and Houston kept their same standings, they would have to make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. So basically this series is unlikely to happen, but it would be very entertaining if it did, and very emotional. I believe Houston would win in a close 6 games due to their pure star power, but hopefully this series happens. The second series we'll be talking about also includes the Houston Rockets, and they will be versing the LA Clippers. This series features many stars such as James Harden and Russell Westbrook for the Houston Rockets, and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard for the Los Angeles Clippers. In the 4 games they have played this year, they have tied at 2 games apiece. 2 out of the 4 games were super close, especially their second meeting, which was maybe the best game of the whole year. This game included Harden ankle breaking and having a 4-point play on Patrick Beverley and Paul George, Kawhi's clutch game winner, and the Clippers coming back to win the game. In the first game, Houston won 102-93, led by James Harden's 47 points. In the second game, LA won 122-119, led by Lou Williams' 26 points. In the third game, Houston won 122-117, led by Russell Westbrook's 40 points. In their last and final game, the Clippers won 120-105, led by Kawhi Leonard's 25 points. I think this series would be very intense and entertaining. Even though most people would expect the Clippers to win, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Houston somehow defeated them. For this series to happen, the Clippers would need to fall down to the 3rd seed behind the Denver Nuggets and verse Houston as a 3v6 matchup in the first round. Or if Houston fell down to the 7th seed and versed the Clippers in a 2v7 seed in the first round. For the series to happen in the second round, they would both need to keep their same seeding and defeat their first round matchup while keeping their same seedings. So clearly this series has a legitimate chance of happening, and if it did happen, I would choose the LA Clippers to win in a close 7 games. This series is very unpredictable, and I wouldn't be surprised if Houston won or if the Clippers destroyed them in a quick 5 games. The third series we will talk about is the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Los Angeles Lakers. I know the Pelicans are not in playoffs right now, but they have a legit chance to get the 8th seed, so this series still has a great chance of happening. The obvious appeal of this series is LeBron James, the king of the NBA, going against Zion Williamson, who many compare to LeBron. This series would be like the present versus the future. That is not the only storyline. The New Orleans Pelicans also made a blockbuster trade with the Los Angeles Lakers, so many former Laker players will be trying to prove who won the trade. Also, Anthony Davis will be trying to destroy his former team and prove to people he was worth the huge package. In the 4 games they have played, LA has won all 4 games, but none of them have been blowouts. In their first meeting, the Pelicans without Zion Williamson lost 114 to 110, and the Lakers were led by Anthony Davis, who scored 41 points. In their second meeting, also without Zion Williamson, the Lakers defeated the Pelicans 123 to 113, with Anthony Davis scoring 46 points against his former team. In the third game, which included Zion, the Lakers would defeat the Pelicans 118 to 109, with LeBron James scoring 40 points. In their fourth and final meeting, the Lakers would defeat them 122 to 114, led by LeBron James 34 points. Anthony Davis didn't even play in this game. It's clearly that I believe Los Angeles would win this, but I believe there will be some close games. If this series happened, I would expect LA to win in 4 games, at most 5, but it would be a close 5 games. The way this series could happen is if New Orleans steals the 8th seed from the Memphis Grizzlies. The fourth and final series we will talk about is definitely the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Los Angeles Clippers. This is the series we have all been waiting to see and has been hyped up all year. The clear storylines is the fact that this series can help us see who is truly the better player between Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. This series is also the Battle of LA. In the 3 games that have played this year, the Clippers have won 2 out of the 3, and all of the games were competitive and close. In their first game, the Clippers won 112 to 102, led by Kawhi Leonard's 30 points. In their second matchup, which was very close, the Clippers won 111 to 106, led by Kawhi Leonard's 35 points. In the third and final game, the Lakers defeated the Clippers 112 to 103, led by LeBron James' 28 points and his big plays in the fourth quarter. Most this series would be the NBA Finals, and whoever wins this, most people would assume they will go on to win the NBA championship. This series drastically can alter many players. For example, LeBron James, he would receive his 4th championship, putting him closer to Jordan. Kawhi might win his 3rd championship, putting him over many players all time, and it would give AD and PG a lot of playoff success that their careers lack. In order for this series to happen, both teams would have to make it to the conference finals. If this series happened, I believe that it has all-time great series potential. I would choose the Los Angeles Lakers to win the series in a close 7 games based on the fact that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are proven to be great playoff performers, unlike many Los Angeles Clipper players such as Paul George and Lou Williams. I hope this series happens because it would be an absolute banger. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know if there's any other series that you are hyped for, and like to show support, subscribe so we can hit 300 subs, and comment to start a conversation, and I'm out.